Hi everyone again. This is our second yoga at home video with me, and today we're going to go over a little bit of balancing. So these poses are a little bit trickier, and we're going to be going on like one leg, and we're going to be starting to kind of just shift our balance a little bit and test how strong and how good at balance we are on both sides. One thing that's really important to remember when we're doing any kind of balancing pose is that if we fall out, no big deal. We're normally going to catch ourselves. We're not too far off the ground. We're not going to get hurt. And the important thing to remember is to be patient and to move slow and use our breath when we do move. Because the slower we move, the more control we have. And maybe we get, one leg off the ground today. Maybe it's just a few heels or a toe off the ground, and we can always get better as we practice. So if you fall out, no big deal. Get right back into it, slow your breath down, focus, and just keep trying. So we're gonna start off in our good old tabletop position again. So hands underneath our shoulders, hips are right on top of my knees. We've got a nice sturdy table, and from here we're just gonna do a few cat-cow poses. Inhale, belly drops. Exhale into cat. From here, we're gonna rock our hips back and come into downward facing dog. Just getting into our hamstrings a little bit in the backs of our calves. We can walk our dog out a little bit, picking one heel up at a time, bending one knee at a time. Since we're gonna be going into a lot of one-legged or balanced poses, it's kind of nice to work on each leg separately. Good. From here, we're gonna walk our hands, or our feet up to our hands, and we're gonna keep our knees just slightly bent here, and we're gonna reach forward, and I'm just gonna use my peace fingers to scoop up my big toes, and I'm gonna plant my big toes down, and from here, I'm gonna try and now straighten out my legs a little bit more. If you can straighten out your legs and your arms are already straight, then what you can do as an added challenge is start bending your arms out wide and pull your chest a little bit more forward. Still sticking your hips back and still reaching your chest down. Now we're just giving you a little bit of tension to increase that stretch. Good. You can release your hands, and from here, bend your knees, sweep your arms up, and reach all the way nice and tall. Hands can come down by your side. We're gonna start with our first balancing pose called tree pose. And I think it's a pretty well-known pose, and a lot of people you can see on yoga posters. So we're gonna try it out. First thing to remember is our toes are touching and our heels are gonna be a little bit apart. Okay, so it should feel really comfortable to stand like this. Heels are down into the ground, same with my big toe mounds, and I'm gonna spread my toes out really wide, giving me a little bit more space so that I can balance. My hands are gonna come onto my hips, and I'm gonna roll my shoulders back so I'm really nice and tall. From here, I'm gonna tap my right leg, and I'm gonna pick it up. So I'm just bending my knee and coming up onto my toe. From here, this is tree already. So if that feels comfortable, you're gonna stay right here. If you'd like, you can turn out your leg. So my knee is now facing out wide. And this here, we can pick up our toe and just lightly have it on the ground. Or I can pick up my foot and I can put it onto the inside of my calf. I'm gonna press a little gently into my calf with my foot, and I'm gonna squeeze my bum. That means my legs are working, and that's gonna help with the balance on my left-hand side. If this feels okay, then you can grab that leg and you're gonna bring it up nice and high, staying away from your knee. So it's gonna be either above or below your knee joint. And I'm gonna try and even off my hips, and I'm gonna squeeze a little bit into that thigh with my foot, still keeping my bum nice and tight, okay? Your core is on, you're working. It helps to focus on one point, maybe on a wall, maybe at a picture. Hands on your hips. If this feels okay, then you can join me lifting up your arms, reaching nice and tall as we do. Fingertips are gonna touch, and then you can bring your hands down to the center of your heart. We'll do one breath here. Good. Slowly, you're gonna put your hands onto your hips, grab that foot wherever it may be, and gently it can come back down to the ground. Oh, now we can do the other side. Hands on your hips, heel picks up, turning out that knee, choosing either your calf as an option or bringing that sole of the foot up to meet your inner thigh. Once you feel steady here, pick a spot, slow down your breathing. Inhale, reach your arms up. If you'd like to test your balance, you can bring your gaze up to the ceiling. Things get a little shaky. And then you can bring your hands down to your heart center. One breath in and out. Hands come back to your hips and foot comes back down into mountain pose where our toes are touching and our heels are a little bit apart. All right, that was our balance pose number 1. Second pose is going to be tree, but it's a variation. It's called toppling tree. So I'm going to face this way so you can see me from the side. Toppling tree is almost like a seesaw. We're going to extend from our one leg through to our head. So we're going to keep one straight line from our toe all the way through our knee, our hip, shoulders, and to our head. My hands are going to start on my hips again. Toes are touching, heels just a little bit apart. I'm going to pick up my left side and I'm just going to point my toes behind me. My hips are still going to stay even. My shoulders are back, so I'm nice and broad in my chest. And I'm going to inhale and I'm just going to slightly pick up my toes. I'm going to keep my toes pointed so that my hip stays down. From here, I'm going to pick up maybe an inch at a time. And slowly, as my back leg comes up, my chest is going to come slightly forward. My standing right leg is really grounded. I'm moving slow and with control. I'm using my breath. I'm not holding it. And slowly but surely, we can try and make like a capital T shape from our head, shoulders to hips to toes. Keep your toes pointed. Your standing leg is nice and strong. On your next inhale, come all the way back up. Okay, second side. Grounding down through my left side, pointing my right toes back. Inhale, chest lifts. As I exhale, my toes point back. I slowly start picking up from the heel. See what I mean about balance? No worries, I just go right back to where I started. Inhale, point my leg back, and slowly but surely that leg comes up and my chest is going to come down. You're going to find that when we do balance on one side or the other, one leg may feel a little bit wonkier than the other. And that's totally natural and that's totally normal. Just means you have a little bit more work to do on that one side. So, pose number 3. This is called dancer's pose. And I'm going to walk you through the progressions and you're going to stop where you need to stop or where it feels comfortable and you're not pushing your limit. Okay, dancer's pose again is on one leg per side. So dancer's pose, I'm going to start from this sideway view so that you can see how my hips are going to stay in line and where I'm kicking back in my leg. So I'm going to root down through my right leg. Hands start on my hips, just like they did with our last two poses. I'm gonna, instead of pointing my toes back, I'm going to actually bend my knee, keep my knees side by side as much as I can. I'm gonna open up my left side so that it looks like I'm asking for some money. And I'm gonna connect my palm with the sole of my foot. So my shoulder is nice and open, just reaching for my foot here, okay? So the inside arch of my foot is touching the palm of my hand. I'm gonna keep my gaze nice, straight and forward. I'm just standing right now. This is already a dancer's pose. If it feels comfortable to keep your hand on your hip, then you're gonna keep your hand on your hip. If you like, you can reach your arm all the way up. This is dancers. Right here, right now, this is dancers. A lot of people don't think it is. This is the start, okay? If you feel comfortable here and you want a little more, you're gonna kick back that foot into your hand. So now my shoulder's opening up and I'm really kicking my leg and my foot into my hand. That kick is gonna come up higher and higher. I'm still reaching up with my arm and I'm still balancing. As soon as I reach as high as I can kick with my leg though, I'm gonna start leaning a little bit forward with my chest. Once I've hit my limit, I'm gonna have one breath in, one breath out, and I'm gonna slowly, slowly come back to where I started, hand on my hip, leg down. Okay, now I started with my strong side, so we'll try out my left side, which is a little bit shakier. Here we go. I'm gonna root down through my left, palm faces out and connects with my arch. Inhale, opposite arm reaches up. I wanna get as tall as I can before I start to kick back into my hand. Here's my limit. I take 2 breaths in. And I come right back to center, nice and controlled, and back to mountain. The reason we want to come back with control is we don't want our bodies to learn that it's okay to just fall out of these poses. We want to maintain control throughout the beginning, middle, and end of each pose. We have one last pose, and this is a fun one and it's a little bit tricky. So we're gonna learn one way of doing eagle pose. So eagle pose is fun because it's not necessarily about extending our limbs and balancing that way. We're actually trying to crunch and expand at the same time while on one leg. So I'm going to get into a little bit of a squat. Okay, my hands are on my hips. I'm gonna plant down through my right leg. I'm gonna pick up my left toes and I'm gonna cross my legs as if I have to pee really bad. And I'm actually gonna squeeze my thighs together so that there's very little space in between them. And my toes, you can see, are pointing down, or some of you might be able to tuck your toes in behind your calf. Once I'm kind of in this squatting, gotta go pee really bad position, I'm gonna take my arms, I'm gonna sink my hips down just a little bit, so I'm sitting closer more to in a chair, and I'm gonna reach my arms and I'm gonna give myself a huge bear hug. And I'm gonna reach and try and squeeze my torso and squeeze my legs, and I'm gonna sit down just a little bit more, and I'm gonna breathe and try and lift my chest up. And on your next inhale, you're gonna release your arms. Come on up, back to standing, okay? I'm gonna do my second side from the side so that you can see how deep of a squat and how it's really more of a sinking down in your hips. So this time, my left leg is going to be where I
sink down and I root down through. So I'm gonna cross my right leg over top, over top of my left, nice and tight. I'm gonna inhale, reach across, pull myself in, sink down with my hips, lift up with my chest. Next inhale, I open up, I stand up, and I can exhale at mountain. So those are our poses for balance today. We got tree, toppling tree, we also did dancer's pose, and you just finished with eagle. Now would be a great time to go into child's pose or shavasana,